You are now watching the official YouTube channel for the largest basketball manager game in the world. Join at BuzzerBeater.com if you think you can beat the buzzer.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bubbles Buzzer Beater, the official Buzzer Beater YouTube channel. I hope everyone is having a great warm-up to playoffs and relegation series. I know that the madness kind of starts tomorrow. And if you're still in Buzzer Beater Madness or B3, then kudos to you. I know that is wrapping up as well. Today I just wanted to go over a strategy that I like to make use of, and I feel like isn't as common as I would think, so I just wanted to bring it up, and maybe it's something that other managers can start to use a little bit more. But what I'm talking about is the PayLess playoff price strategy. And essentially what this is, as most of you know, players at this point are ineligible for playoff matchups and relegation series. So on the transfer list, if you're looking up players, you'll notice it says ineligible for playoffs on there. And if you're pushing for promotion or really trying to fight for your life in a relegation series, obviously you don't want to be buying these players because they're just going to be on your payroll and they're not helping you at all. With that being said, there's a good chunk of teams every season that are in what I call no man's land, where you know you're not going to win the championship, but you're also not worried at all that you're going to demote. So you're pretty, you're not stuck, but you're pretty stable in the league that you're currently in. And this is the best time of the season where you can maybe get some players for cheaper than they're worth or cheaper than you expect. And this is in large part because there's just less people looking for players, but also because at this point in the season, for many teams, if they were either running low on funds or had funds and then spent it, there's a lot less money in the market right now. So when the new season begins and promotion money kicks in and everyone gets those bonuses and there's more players listed on the transfer list, there's a lot more money in the market, which means that the player prices notably go up. So that's something that if you've been on Buzzer Beater for even a couple of seasons, if not many, many seasons, you'll know that the beginning of every season, players are much, much more expensive as well as staff members. But if you're looking for players right now during the playoffs, you'll notice that you can get guys for a lot cheaper. So looking at some specific examples on my USA team, this last season, I was the 4 seed at a 12-10 record in my Division 3 league, and I knew that I had no chance to win the championship, but since I was a 4 seed in the playoffs, I also knew I wasn't demoting. So I actually spent a lot of that playoff time looking on the transfer list for good deals and ended up coming away with 3 kind of cornerstones to my franchise who are arguably 3 of my top 4 players this season. So looking at them and how much they sold for, the first player is Tango, Branko Tango, and I got for $450,000, which I thought was a steal. He didn't have a transfer price estimation on there. It just had the very few players like this have been transferred recently. But he was a guy who I was willing to pay probably around $600,000 for and only had to spend $450,000 for. So saved a good chunk of money there. And then the second player was Many Money Sahar, and he is actually my leading scorer this season and probably my best player. He's 3rd in the league in points per game, so he's been lights out for me. And he also won the 3-point contest during All-Star Week on a injured knee. So he was injured, but participated in the 3-point contest and ended up winning it. So that was pretty funny. But last season, when he was ineligible for playoffs, I just said I don't have to have him in my playoff game. I know I'm going to lose. Spent $703,000 on him, and his transfer price estimation was $650K to $850K at the time. So I was willing to go towards the top end of that, pay about $850,000, and ended up only needing to pay $703,000. So pretty good deal there. And then the third deal, I'd say this was less of a steal. I think the first 2 were more steals where I felt like I really bought low on the market and didn't have to worry about anything. But for the third one, AAA, this was my best big this season, and I got him for $509,000. His transfer price estimation was $450,000 to $550,000, so it was like right in the middle of that. I was willing to pay up to $550,000, so I just saved $41,000. But the big key for this is that he was a young player, and his transfer price estimation is going to stay stable for a while. And then I also didn't have to worry about competing with a ton of other managers, because if I had just waited an additional 2 weeks, then it would have been the beginning of the next season, and he probably would have sold for closer to $650,000, if not a little bit more. So you can buy a lot of players for slightly cheaper right now, and according to my calculations, I saved about $338,000 from market value, if not more, because as I said, the beginning of the season is just crazy with how expensive some players can be. So if you're a team not looking at promoting, but also very stable, don't have to worry about demoting, you can look at buying some players for cheap right now. The one caveat or the one word of advice that I'd like to attach along with this is do pay attention to the salaries that these players might jump up to for following season. So if you're looking at guys who are 22, 23 or younger, they might have had some pops during the season that raised their salaries pretty dramatically. So do pay attention to that, because you'll see some bigs, if they're a little bit younger, who have a $43,000 salary, for example, but their updated salary once the season resets is going to jump up significantly, where you could see a player go from a $43,000 salary per week all the way up to an $80,000 salary per week. So pay attention to the salaries. You can use Buzzer Manager to kind of calculate what they might be at. But yeah, this is a great time to buy. So the PayLess playoff price strategy works really well for me. Let me know if that's something you've ever looked into. And if it's not, feel free to make more use of it, because I think it's one of the best times to buy for players, and then even some staff members you can get a little bit cheaper, although I think more people are monitoring trainers and stuff right now if they're preparing to train some players next season. So that's all I had for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, guys, best of luck in the playoffs, and you have a good one.